Hello, it's Crafty Carol here from Northern Ireland with you for another little project, and this is another Christmas card I'm calling an arrow card, which I first saw I think a couple of years ago now on Frenchy Stamps. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the lady who does Frenchy Stamps, but it was that site. And I thought I'd like to use this Wishes All Around set, which caught my eye in the catalogue. And then I sort of sat and thought, well, obviously I could do a plain card with a circular thing and a greeting, but I wanted to just jazz it up a little bit. So let me show you how to work the card. The set, by the way, comes with dies to cut out the tree. It also, let me show you. I've got lots of the stamp sets out because I'm going to use them. This is the die that cuts out the tree, and there's two smaller trees. There's also this gorgeous snowflake die cut with three smaller snowflakes and a bough, berry bough, with two smaller boughs and, well, actually four when you add those up together. And the smaller ones here do match the stamp sets. There is no snowflake to match that, which I find a bit sad, but never mind. Mainly because it cuts out so thin you couldn't really stamp and cut, I suppose. But yeah, there are small snowflakes you can use, tiny ones. There's the bough, various greetings, and the trees, which I'm going to use today. So this is the set I'm using. And for this card, we need a usual base card. So this is 21 by 14.8, scored and burnished at 10.5. And I've already burnished that fold because I'm going to show you how we fold and mark and fold the rest of the card, and you'll see it better if the fold is actually more obvious. So first of all, get my trimmer, and the first thing I need to do, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to mark this halfway along the top edge. So it's 14.8, which means that 7.4, so that's 7 and 4 little tiny marks, 7.4 is the middle of that long edge. And I'm going to use the guide in my trimmer just to bring my pencil down and make just the tiniest little mark just on the top edge there. So hopefully that's, yeah, come into focus, and you can see I've just made a tiny mark there. Then I need to make a similar mark halfway down on each side. Now these are 10.5 each side, so I therefore need to do it at 5.25, so that's right in the middle. There isn't a mark for it, it's between that second and third little mark just after the 5, so it's 5, 1, 2 and the tiniest bit, and again just use the guide to make a little mark. I then need to mark this bit, and turning it round is a bit awkward, so the beauty of our trimmers, if I bring it up a bit so you can see, is that we have the same marks on the bottom. So I can just bring my card down. Again, I want to go to 5.25 and mark in the trail here at the bottom in the, there. So I now have my card with marks halfway along the long edge and halfway along each short edge. Don't worry about the marks because we are going to get rid of them in a bit. So the next thing is I'm going to score. So I'm going to move my cutting blade well out of the way. We don't want any accidents. And then I'm going to use my guide and put my top mark, the mark along the top edge in the top of the groove, and then twist it until the corner, just at the edge of the middle crease of the card, is also right in that guide. So I've got the top and there marked off. Then I need to simply put a score line down there. Then I'm going to turn it, keeping that one in the trail, and then put this other centre mark in the trail. So I have two marks. So hopefully you can see those. And then I'm going to do exactly the same this side. So I'm going to put the crease into the centre of the guide there, the little trimmer line. And then I'm going to put the mark again in the centre, and then crease, turn it, keep that one in the centre, and make sure you can see, put that one in the centre and that one into the centre again, and score for the final time. And that is it. How simple is that? We've got a bit more cutting to do when we come to the other bits, But let me show you how to put this together first. You'll see the shape of the card then. So I'm going to rub out my pencil marks. That's the importance of doing it in pencil, so you can rub them out. So I haven't got any marks left because we don't want those. They won't really show anyway, to be honest, because they're on the inside, but I'd still rub them out. And then we're going to fold and burnish. And it's really important that we fold it and burnish really well for this card. So I've already folded the card so it comes like that. So I'm going to fold these inwards. So fold it in, first fold the first fold in, and this second fold folds outwards. And burnish it really well with your bone folder. Then we're going to do exactly the same this side. We're going to fold it in, and then we're going to fold the next piece outwards. And that has not quite gone there. So you want to fiddle and make sure that's exact at the top there. That folds, it goes exactly into the point there. And that is the arrow card. So when it folds together, it's like that. So obviously it looks very plain, just as it is at the moment, but we're going to decorate it. So to decorate it, we need two pieces. I've chosen a colour cardstock and I've chosen a piece of DSP. The DSP is from the I Walk in the Forest DSP, and the colours in it are Old Olive, Pretty Peacock and Garden Green, I think. Can't quite remember. But the pieces you're going to cut, this one is our normal layer. So it's 14.3 by 10. This one I've made very slightly smaller on the long side. So this is 13.6 by 9.5. There's a reason for that, which will become obvious when we do our marking and cutting. So I'm going to bring my trimmer back in. And again, we're just going to make a little mark of this halfway along. So this is 14.3, so it needs to be 7.15. So again, we're going to move along the 7 to 1 and then a little tiny bit to the middle. That's 7.15. And again, just make a little mark where the groove is on the trimmer. So that is my halfway point. And then we're going to cut this time, not score. So I'm going to have my mark in the trimmer edge and the point in my trimmer edge. Now I have said this before, if I'm coming up from here, I can cut direct. But don't try and cut down into a point. So I prefer, just move the scoreboard out of the way and bring the trimmer in. I prefer when I'm cutting and I want a perfect point cut, I prefer to start with my blade in the centre and then I can go up and down and it cuts beautifully, even though I've got my trimmer blade clearly needs replacing because there's a few little edges on that card, which are very simple just to get off. I need to replace my trimmer blade, but we can't do that now. Let's just carry on. So then I'm going to put that point back in the groove, put the other point from the other corner of the card in and cut again. So that gives us three pieces that look like that. Okay, so we're going to cut this in the same way, and you'll see the reason for having it just slightly narrower than normal is because we've got an extra gap, if you like, to fit onto these, and otherwise it fits too closely. When I first tried it with the normal layer, I didn't like it. I needed a bit more room. So 13.6, half of 13.6 is 6 point... what is it? 6.8, isn't it? Yeah, 6.8. So 6.8. Now, I've got directional paper. And if I'm going to cut it, I need my trees going the right way. So I actually need to mark the bottom edge of this piece. So it's 6.8. So we move along to 6.8, make my little mark, and then cut it exactly as before. So I have my mark in the groove, I have my point in the groove, put my cutting blade in the middle of the two, and then just make sure it is exact, cut. So that gives me that piece for there. Then I cut the other side, put the mark in the groove, put the end in the groove, have my blade halfway. Oop, that one's just moved a little bit. Let me just make sure. You can see through the groove, which is beautiful, so you can check it is perfectly lined up. So that gives us our three pieces that fit like that. I hope that made some sense. So can you see why I needed this longer piece to be just slightly smaller? Because otherwise I end up with hardly any gap, so I can't see my contrasting card underneath. So that's why you need it just a fraction smaller. So there are my pieces, and I can stick those together, and I'll whiz through this. You don't need to see me sticking, and I'll see you the other side. Okay, so those are my pieces for the card prepared. Now we can stick them to the front of the card. So this piece obviously fits in the middle there, so we'll stick that on first. So there's the centerpiece. I apologise for the ink on me. I'm a crafter, what can I say? And then these two other pieces, we're going to open the card, and these go in these two corners. So we'll put the first piece into the left-hand side, obviously with the main corner into the corner of the card. So I fit the corner in, and then I can make sure I've got a sensible gap all the way around. And we do exactly the same with the other side. There. So there is the card put together, and that's what it looks like. Obviously we need to decorate it now. So I'm using Pretty Peacock to match my base colour, and I'm using, where are my stamps? Put them all over, I've got them all. There we go. I'm using Pretty Peacock. So I'm using, for the greeting inside, I'm using this Make It Merry, because I rather like that. So we'll have that in the middle. Yeah, make sure it's properly inked up. So if I put it fairly high, I've still got room to write a greeting there. And then I was just going to use my tree. So this is the little tree, and I'm just going to get a piece of scrap paper, because I'm going to have some trees in there, but I don't want them to be as dark as that. So I'm going to stamp off, and then we'll have a little tree up there. I might have on the other side just to balance it. Let's have another one there. So that's a stamped off tree, so you can see it's just a bit lighter. So I've got a couple of trees, Make It Merry, but still room to write. And you could, of course, write up here. You could decorate inside up here as well. Totally up to you. So for the decoration for the front of the card, I wanted to use this Wishes All Around set. And it does make it, oh, I don't know why I'm putting that away. I need it. It does make it slightly bigger than the front of the card, but I still like it. So I'm just going to ink up this stamp. Now, when it's a big stamp like this, I tend to take the ink pad to the stamp, because it does make it easier to make sure I've covered the whole stamp without getting ink absolutely everywhere. So I'm still pretty good at managing that. So I can ink up the whole stamp and then just stamp on there. There we go. Then I'm going to stamp a couple of extra little trees, because I want to cut those out as well, because I want a little bit of extra. Do I want some? Well, we'll cut a couple and see. So I'm going to have a couple of extra little trees that I will cut out in a minute, and I will go and cut those out with the dies. I'll show you the die before I wander off to my machine. So this is the die that cuts out the trees, and then I've got my smaller dies, and I have got several of them. So I've got 3, so I can cut out 2 trees quite happily. There we go. And I will go and die cut those, and I will be back in just a second. Okay, so I've cut out my 2 little trees. That one not perfectly, but it'll do. And my tree circle. And I just wanted to bring this bit. This is what you're left with from the centre of here. I don't know about you, but that looks like a sun to me. I'm keeping that because I could use that in another card. So I'm keeping the inside of that. It really does. I think it's a beautiful shape. So here is my set of trees, which I'm going to put on the front, and then 2 little trees I can add to it. While I'm at it, let me decorate my envelope while I've got the ink pad out, because I'm just going to use the trees to decorate the envelope. That was horrible. Let me try that again. Now, they're not see-through stamps, so this won't be good. Not very good, never mind. We'll just put a little group of trees there, and then hopefully nobody will notice too much. Not brilliant. Might redo that. Okay, so let's get on with finishing the card. So the other thing I want to do is just stamp a little greeting. Okay, let me just try this because it just might be big enough. I might do both and then we've got it out. So there we have Christmas greetings. Lovely. Okay, so it just remains for me to put all of this together. That I will need to just trim down a little bit, so I'll do that on my trimmer and be back in a second. Right, that's made it a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to, for this one, I'm actually just going to angle the end. So I'm just going to cut it off like this and have it parallel. So I'm trying to match the angle of the italic greeting. So I've just trimmed those off. So I've got my center, and I'm going to put this on with dimensionals. Right, so I might use just my tiny dimensionals on here. I don't want them showing at all, so I'm going to use these little tiny ones, and we don't need that many. It's not holding huge weight or anything. So about 4 will do. Not very even, but that doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to just stick this across the front of the card. So I want my top and bottom tree straight, so that's just about right. Press that down, and then I can stick my 2 little trees on here. Do you know what? I might cover up my... I think I might cover up my bad one on my envelope with one of these. I'm not sure I do actually need them on the card, but let's see. I'm going to cut... There we go. Cover up my badly stamped tree on my envelope. See, there's always a way around things, folks. This one, I don't know, let's see. Might just stick it there. Yeah, I don't really need to cover up a tree on the side because it's fine. It's got enough trees on it from there. So I'm going to leave it like that. And then just to finish off, I'm going to stick this across the centre. So I just need a little bit of glue. Might even use glue dots actually. There we go. Just a couple of those either side because I don't want, in fact I might actually put them on here. So I want it across the middle. So I'm going to stick 1 glue dot onto my finger, obviously. Having one of those days today. There we are, stick it onto the tree, and I will stick another one the other side. So going straight across, that's this side. Stick onto the tree this time instead of my finger. There we go. And then I can stick that on. I don't want any extra extra height on this, obviously, because of posting. So I stick that down to the trees which are already raised. And there is my very simple arrow card. So a little bit effective, nice, different, and my corrected envelope. So I hope you have a go at these cards. They're really fun to make and they're so quick and easy. I made one here using this gorgeous snowflake paper that's in the mini catalogue, just about to retire sadly. I cut the snowflakes here out of a retired glitter paper, which is rather nice. And this time I stuck those flat and raised up my Merry Christmas across the centre. So there you go. There's 2 ideas for these cards. Just move the envelope out of the way there. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you have a go at this really simple fun fold, and I will see you again soon. Please subscribe if you haven't already. You'll find full instructions in my blog at craftycarolscards.co.uk, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.